Welcome back to Stamps Old World UK, the home for philatelists and collectors who love exploring the history and market values of classic postal issues. Today, we are analyzing the famous United States 2-cent red Washington stamp from the Washington Franklin series. Printed in billions throughout the early 20th century, this iconic issue features a detailed profile portrait of George Washington framed by ornamental scrollwork. While hundreds of millions of these red 2-cent stamps were circulated for standard domestic letters, subtle variations in production, paper type, and perforation mean that prices in today's market range from pennies to several $100s. For the standard used versions found on everyday old letters or postmarked cards, market value remains modest. A typical used example with standard cancellation marks generally trades between 25 cents and $2 in the secondary market. If you happen to have a standard unused version with original gum on the back, values usually range between $3 and $15, depending on whether the stamp is lightly hinged or mint never hinged. Modern online marketplaces see thousands of these common varieties trading daily within these exact price brackets. However, condition, centering, and specific catalog classifications play a massive role in pushing values higher. When looking at early flat plate pressings like Scott No. 406 or unwatermarked issues like Scott No. 499, pristine centering with wide, even margins can instantly raise the value of an unused stamp into the range of $30 to $50. Furthermore, scarce plate varieties and experimental pressings such as the Scott No. 500 Type 1 of variation command significantly higher prices. Unused examples of these rare subtypes routinely bring to $100 to $600 or more at specialized auctions, depending on centering and gum condition. When evaluating your own red 2-cent Washington stamp, pay close attention to several key identifying factors. Gauge the perforations using a perforation gauge to distinguish between Perf 10, 11, and 12 varieties. Inspect the watermark using specialized fluid, as watermarked versus unwatermarked paper creates major value differences across identical-looking designs. Finally, examine the design details under magnification, particularly around Washington's hair strands, toga button, and the lettering, to spot rare die types or double impressions that turn an ordinary stamp into a valuable treasure. Next up, the Washington Franklin issue introduced in 1908. This stamp features a fine profile portrait of Benjamin Franklin framed by an ornate oval frame and classic corner ornaments. Printed in huge quantities to satisfy the standard postcard and printed matter mail rates, this 1-cent issue is a staple of early American philately for common used varieties with typical postal cancellations. Market values remain very accessible for collectors. Standard used examples that circulated on turn-of-the-century postcards or letters generally trade for 50 cents to $2 in today's secondary market. Unused or mint examples with original gum usually range between $5 and $15, provided the centering is average and there are no tears, thins, or heavy hinge marks. These affordable price points make it an easy entry point for anyone building a historical United States collection. However, specific catalog variations, rare printings, and paper types can drive prices significantly higher. For example, early issues produced by the American Banknote Company in 1890, cataloged as Scott No. 219, can command $45 to over $100 for mint, never hinged specimens with strong centering. Even rarer variations within the series, such as coil stamps, imperforate pairs, or early experimental coil issues from the early 1900s, can easily reach several $100s at specialized philatelic auctions. When evaluating your blue 1-cent Franklin stamp, pay close attention to critical physical traits. Check the perforation count along the edges using a perforation gauge, as differences between perforation 10, 11, or 12 can signal a drastically different issue number. Additionally, use a watermark tray and fluid to detect single-line or double-line USPS watermarks, which separate standard issues from rarer production batches. Inspecting the stamp under strong magnification will help you evaluate margin symmetry and confirm whether the original gum remains completely intact. Next up, we are looking at the 3-cent purple commemorative issue from 1951, titled Washington Saves His Army at Brooklyn, cataloged as Scott No. 1003. This issue commemorates the 175th anniversary of the Battle of Brooklyn in 1776. The design depicts General George Washington on horseback leading his troops during their historic tactical retreat near the Fulton Ferry House, because over 116 million copies were printed by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. This stamp remains very common today. Used examples with clear cancellations typically sell for around 35 cents to 50 cents. Mint condition single stamps with full original gum generally fetch 40 cents to $1. Entire mint sheets or blocks of 4 sell for around $2 to $20, making them highly accessible for collectors interested in American Revolutionary War history, while standard singles have modest value. Pristine unhinged stamps with exceptionally high centering grades can fetch $30 or more. First day covers canceled on December 10, 1951, in Brooklyn, New York, generally trade between $2 and $5. When checking your stamp, inspect the rotary press perforations measuring 11 by 10.5 to confirm its authenticity. Next up, the United States 5-cent red-brown Benjamin Franklin stamp from 1847, cataloged as Scott No. 1. This issue holds the prestigious title of being the very first official general issue postage stamp released by the United States Post Office Department, engraved by Rawdon, Wright, Hatch, and Edson. It features a portrait of Benjamin Franklin, who served as America's first postmaster general, surrounded by an oval frame with 5 cents marked at the bottom corners. As America's inaugural postal issue. This stamp was printed in perforate, meaning every stamp had to be manually cut from the sheet using scissors. Because of its legendary status and limited surviving numbers, market values today remain strong across all conditions. A standard used example with 4 clear margins and a classic cancellation mark typically commands between $300 and $800, depending on color freshness and margin width. If the stamp has minor faults, tears, or touched margins, used copies can still fetch around $150 to $300 for unused or mint condition copies. Values jump dramatically into elite investment territory. An unused Scott No. 1 without original gum generally sells between $4,000 and $6,000 in the current market. Meanwhile, an unused specimen with original gum and superb for margin centering can easily reach $13,000 to over $23,000 at major philatelic auctions. When inspecting a potential 1847 5-cent Franklin, pay strict attention to margin symmetry and paper composition. Genuine copies were printed on thin bluish wove paper without watermarks, and full margins around all 4 outer border lines significantly enhance value. Collectors should also watch out for official 1875 reproductions cataloged as Scott No. 3, as well as clever fakes or altered regular issues. Next up, we are analyzing the United States 1-cent blue Benjamin Franklin issue from 1861. Printed by the National Bank Note Company. This design features a detailed side profile bust of Benjamin Franklin framed by ornate scrollwork, with United States postage arched across the top and 1 cent along the bottom curve. Introduced right at the onset of the American Civil War, this issue replaced earlier postage designs to prevent southern states from using old federal stamps. In today's philatelic market, values for this classic 19th century issue depend heavily on whether the stamp is a standard perforate issue like Scott No. 63 or one of its rarer grill variations. A standard used copy of Scott No. 63 with decent centering and a typical postmark generally trades between $20 and $50. Unused or mint copies with original gum are considerably scarcer, usually fetching between $200 and $600 depending on eye appeal and paper freshness. However, condition and production variations can elevate this stamp into significant value territory. Examples featuring clear grill impressions on the back, such as the Z grill variation cataloged as Scott No. 85A, are exceptionally rare and reach astronomical figures in the thousands or millions at public auctions. Even standard, regular issues with pristine centering, well-balanced margins, and exceptional color intensity routinely sell for several $100s when professionally graded. When evaluating your 1-cent blue 1861 Franklin stamp, carefully examine the back for any faint embossed grid patterns that indicate a grill type. Additionally, check for paper faults, thin spots, or trimmed perforations, as 19th century stamps often suffered damage from rough handling or tight spacing during production. Next up, the famous United States 4-cent Lavender Abraham Lincoln stamp from the 1954 Liberty series. Cataloged as Scott No. 1036, this issue features a detailed, dignified portrait of the 16th President of the United States based on an original drawing by artist Douglas Gorsline, issued in November 1954. This stamp was widely used across the nation for standard first-class domestic letter postage during the mid-20th century, because the Bureau of Engraving and Printing produced tens of billions of these stamps. They remain exceptionally common in today's collector market. A standard used copy with a light postal cancellation generally trades for around 10 cents to 25 cents. Unused or mint condition examples with full original gum typically fetch between 25 cents and $1. Full sheets or plate blocks of 4 are also readily available, usually selling for $2 to $8 depending on paper condition, while standard singles carry modest value. Certain high-grade mint condition stamps and plate error varieties can command higher prices. Mint never-hinged specimens that achieve top professional centering grades, such as grade 95 or 98, can sell for $20 to $50 at philatelic auctions. Collectors also keep an eye out for rare production errors, such as severe perforation shifts or dry printing varieties, which can drive values up to $15 or $25 when evaluating your for-cent Lincoln stamp. Check the perforations, which measure 11 by 10.5 on the standard rotary press printing. Make sure to inspect the gum on unused copies to confirm whether it is mint never hinged, as original condition strongly impacts grading. Next up, the United States Abraham Lincoln Classics Forever stamp, issued in 2016, cataloged as Scott number 5079E. This issue was released as part of the Special Classics Forever souvenir sheet at the World Stamp Show in New York. The design recreates the iconic 1866 15-cent black Abraham Lincoln issue, originally released shortly after Lincoln's assassination, engraving the original classic portrait in intaglio printing and updating it with modern forever postal validity, because this stamp was issued in modern quantities for collectors and everyday post. Its general market value reflects its modern face value status. A single unused mint copy generally trades for around 68 cents to $1.50 in secondary online markets. Used examples carrying light postmarks sell for approximately 35 cents to 50 cents. Entire intact Classics Forever souvenir sheets containing all 6 classic reissues routinely sell for $12 to $20 depending on condition, while standard single copies remain affordable. Specific collectible formats carry slight premiums. First day covers canceled on June 1, 2016, in New York, usually trade between $3 and $6. Complete press sheets featuring full, uncut arrangements of the souvenir sheet can command prices ranging from $35 to $50 among specialized modern collectors when examining your 2016 Lincoln stamp. Notice the distinct modern details that separate it from the 1866 original. Look at the lower corners, where the letters U and S replace the original 15-cent denomination, along with the word forever printed cleanly across the lower arch. The stamp also features microprinting and modern self-adhesive backing rather than 19th-century lick and stick gum. Next up, the famous United States 5-cent blue-gray George Washington stamp, issued in November 1962, cataloged as Scott number 1213. This regular issue replaced the 4-cent rate to reflect the rising cost of standard first-class domestic mail in the early 1960s. The crisp design features a prominent side profile of George Washington facing left, based on a classic bust sculpted by Jean-Antoine Howden, with 5 cents U.S. postage clearly stated along the bottom border, because the Bureau of Engraving and Printing produced over 35 billion copies of this stamp using rotary press techniques. It remains one of the most common mid-century American issues in existence. In today's secondary market, a standard used single stamp with a typical postmark routinely trades for around 10 cents to 35 cents. Unused mint copies with full original gum are equally accessible, generally selling for 35 cents to $1. Collectors looking for full mint sheets or plate blocks of 4 can easily find them priced between $2 and $15, even though standard singles carry modest catalog values. Exceptional eye appeal and specific production errors can drive collector interest higher. Mint never-hinged specimens that receive top professional centering grades, such as grade 95 or 98, can command $20 to $40 at specialized philatelic auctions. Furthermore, collectors active on online platforms pay close attention to unusual misperforations, tagging variations, or severe ink shifts, which can elevate single copies into the $10 to $30 price range when inspecting your 5-cent blue-gray Washington stamp. Check the edge perforations, which measure 11 by 10 and a half on standard rotary press printings. Be sure to examine the paper for tagging under ultraviolet light, as early experimental luminescent tag test versions from late 1963 carry a slight premium over untagged originals. Evaluating the freshness of the blue-gray ink and confirming full original gum will ensure you accurately grade your copy. Next up, the popular 18-cent flag over field stamp, featuring the line for Amber Waves of Grain, issued in 1981, cataloged as Scott number 1890. This colorful definitive issue was released by the United States Postal Service as part of the Flag and Anthem series. Inspired by the iconic American song America the Beautiful, the design prominently displays a vibrant American flag set above a brown-toned harvest field with a combine tractor, with 18 cents and the famous lyrics cleanly printed along the bottom, because the Bureau of Engraving and Printing produced hundreds of millions of these stamps to meet domestic letter rates in the early 1980s. They remain very common in today's secondary market. A standard used single stamp carrying a typical postmark generally trades for 10 cents to 25 cents. Unused or mint condition copies with full original gum usually sell for 35 cents to $1. For collectors interested in full mint sheets or plate blocks of 4, values typically range from $2 to $10 depending on overall paper freshness and edge condition, while standard single copies carry modest value. Certain high-grade items and error varieties attract additional collector interest. Mint never-hinged singles that receive top professional centering grades, such as grade 95 or 98, can command $15 to $30 at specialized auctions. Collectors on online trading platforms also actively seek out misperforation errors or dramatic color shifts, which can elevate single copies into the $10 to $25 price range. When inspecting your 18-cent Amber Waves of Grain stamp, pay attention to the edge perforations, which measure 11 on standard sheet printings. Check the back of unused copies to verify full original gum and confirm whether the stamp is mint never hinged or lightly hinged. Evaluating the sharpness of the red and blue inks against the paper will help you grade your copy accurately. Next up, the 3-cent blue-violet Colorado Statehood commemorative issue from 1951, cataloged as Scott number 1001. This stamp was issued on August 1, 1951, to mark the 75th anniversary of Colorado joining the Union as the 38th state in 1876. The detailed composite design showcases the Denver Capitol building in the center, flanked by the Mount of the Holy Cross on the left, a bucking bronco with a cowboy on the right, along with the state flower, the columbine, and the official Colorado state seal, because the Bureau of Engraving and Printing produced nearly 115 million copies of this rotary press issue. It remains very easy to find in today's collector market. A standard used example with a typical postal cancellation generally trades for around 25 cents to 35 cents. Unused or mint single copies with original gum are equally affordable, usually fetching 35 cents to 75 cents. Full mint sheets or plate blocks of 4 typically sell for $2 to $18 depending on paper freshness and edge condition, while standard single copies carry modest value. High-grade mint specimens and collectible covers can fetch higher prices. Mint never-hinged singles that achieve top professional centering grades, such as grade 98 Superb, can command up to $55 at specialized auctions. First-day covers canceled on August 1, 1951, in Minturn, Colorado, generally sell for $2 to $5. When inspecting your 3-cent Colorado Statehood stamp, check the edge perforations, which measure 11 by 10 and a half. Make sure to examine unused copies to verify full original gum and ensure the blue-violet ink retains its original clarity. Thank you for watching Stamps Old World UK, and be sure to subscribe for more updates on classic world stamps.